Okay, welcome to the second episode of Gloved. Following on, I've managed to call in my very good friend Richard Wright, former colleague. Now he's just a friend. You know, we've had plenty of good times on and off the field. I'm going to pick his brains about his interesting career, going right to the top, playing for England, playing for his hometown club twice, and then the journeys in and around that. So, like I say, Richard, it started at Ipswich, where you're from. Talk me through being a hometown goalkeeper, growing to be legend. Similar sort of thing that I did, but not on the greater scale, taking them to the Premier League and then getting your big move to Arsenal.
Yeah, it was great for me. It was being a hometown lad and playing for your local team was brilliant. And at the time, Ipswich was a club that was giving people opportunities, and I was given an opportunity really early at 17.
Yeah.
Through injuries, we were in the Premier League. There was no one playing, and there was injuries, so they threw me into the team. We were relegated and gave me 3 games in the Premier League, which was an unbelievable experience. But playing for your hometown team is unbelievable. Your family, your friends, it's an amazing feeling to be involved, and the support that you get being a homegrown player was amazing, and I loved it.
What was your start at Ipswich like? I talked about my career kind of from 14 onwards. It was kind of just little steps, progression. Did you play early with the youth team? I think it was a youth team back then.
Yeah, so I played. My progressions were quite lucky. At 15, the goalkeeper above me left and went to Spurs. Yeah. So it was I was just pushed, and it gave me a fantastic opportunity just to go and play for the youth team while I was still at school. And I think back then the club had a philosophy that they pushed, and there was a reserve game where they needed someone to play. So I played. So at 16, I was playing in the reserve team and played maybe 10, 15 games then playing alongside top pros at that stage. And then the baptism of fire came at the end of that season. I think it was my first season as a scholar. I'd played in the youth team, the reserves regular that season, and we got relegated. The team was going to get relegated, so the manager said, "Right, you're playing. You got 3 games," and threw me in. And I didn't know I had 3 games, but threw me in. And the first game, I just lit the touch paper. I had a worldie, so
nice.
It couldn't have gone any better. I don't think we kept a clean sheet, maybe 1 clean sheet all season. The team was really struggling, and we beat Coventry at home 2-0. Just remember it as if it was yesterday. It was such a nice feeling, you can't describe it. And I remember the emotions afterwards being absolutely shattered.
Yeah.
The high emotions of playing in the top game and then afterwards being dead. I think we were out for dinner with family and that, and I just want to go home and sleep. I was emotionally drained. It was brilliant.
Yeah, and I'd imagine I'm certainly the same after games now. I'm not particularly physically tired, but emotionally, that can be the biggest thing. Did you, in the build-up to the game, once you got told that you were going to play, what was your feelings as a young guy? The team's already relegated, so it's literally free to go and do as you please, get as many people there as you could.
It was a strange scenario, so I didn't know that I was playing until the team got named at 1:15.
Oh, really?
And I think through my career, sometimes I liked that. I knew most of the time you were going to play, but I quite liked that, the fact that I could just relax before a game and then 1:15 get to the ground and be out there and play. That was sort of the way I liked to work. So I didn't get told. My family were already going to the game anyway. I think they might have been tipped off by the manager, I guess. But it was phenomenal. I remember playing, and luckily enough, I had my dad was at the game, who was at the time was really ill. So for him to see me in the top level playing was, you can't describe the feelings. And I remember the next day would have been a day off then, because there wasn't no recovery, no preparations prior to the next game. We played again on the Tuesday night at home. So on the Monday, I just remember not being able to. I wasn't physically bad, but not being able to move in training. Just felt like I was half the goalie I was.
Yeah.
As soon as the game come round, I warmed up for the game on Tuesday night. I was back up to the levels again and played again. We lost that game to Everton, but it was amazing to play again. So just the levels of how you felt and the emotion, and I think when you're younger, you are up and down, and it's harder to control perhaps sometimes, and you manage yourself. But the feelings I wouldn't have changed. It was fantastic.
So what did you feel once obviously it was a goal. I'm only going on my personal feelings. I had a goal to play, and then my next goal was I had a similar one. End of the season, going into the playoffs in the conference. Obviously nowhere near the level that you started, but it was my peak at the time. And and it was play one last game, and then goes into the playoffs, and the first team goalkeeper comes back in. So it was just go and enjoy. I went and enjoyed 2 games, similar to you enjoying 3 at the end of the season. Then what was the mentality, or was it still just young and just wait and see what happened?
Yeah, I felt that it was wait and see. I had 3 games. It was like we were relegated, and it was just wait and see. And then the summer, I missed the start of pre-season a bit. I lost my dad that summer, so I didn't play the start of pre-season. I didn't play. I had a problem. That I couldn't play and stuff for a few weeks. So I ended up getting back in training, and it was like I was playing reserve football. I felt like I was going through the motions a bit. I'd had the highs, but I was just trying to do everything I possibly could to be in and around the first team, trying hard. Another guy was playing, and then the goalie went away he was a Canadian goalie, Craig Forrest, and he went away to the like one of their tournaments they have, like America's Cup or something like that. Yeah. And I was thrown back in at Crystal Palace, and I played a game at Crystal Palace, done really well, and that was it. Then I was back in the groove again. Played the Saturday, the Tuesday night we played Blackburn away, who the previous season had won the league, so they were unbelievable, and had another blinder game again. And then that was just my thing to push me on. And obviously I knew I was playing Blackburn. Everyone travelled up, the same thing, and the emotions of everyone being around it. And that was the first time I felt that I can do this, I'm part of this.
And who was helping you at this? You know, you obviously touched on you lost your dad, which is a big moment in your life. Who was helping you deal with these kind of these kind of highs and lows, and you just literally trying to work out how to feel, because you know it is a strange feeling when you can play so well in a game when you're young. You literally want to impress every day. You want everyone to think you're amazing. Yeah. You want everyone to be talking about you. I don't mean necessarily in the media. You mean I feel like you're the same as me. You want your teammates to be like, wow, this guy's going to save us. This guy's reliable. How did you deal with some days not actually being able to do it, and some days probably feeling out of your depth and thinking, am I just lucky, or have I got this? There's
scenarios I remember playing in games and someone hitting a shot and it hit the post or going in. I'm thinking, I'm never going to get anywhere near this. I can't do it. But I was really lucky. I had a coach who I worked with at Ipswich, Malcolm Webster, he was like a psychologist for me, and I think he was someone that we would sit here like a scenario like this, and we'd have a cup of tea, and we wouldn't necessarily talk about football. We'd talk about life, because I did make mistakes. I was in that year, and every year I was up and down, making mistakes. But because I would think that we touched on it before, because I was the local lad, I had a few freebies. Do you know what I mean? I was allowed a few passes because of that. And at the time, the media scrutiny was not as high. Mm-hmm. So yes, I was playing the championship at the time, but I had a guy who we just spoke about things, and we could talk about things. He was around when I lost my dad. So instead of, when I had that scenario, instead of saying mope around and worry about it, he got me in training straight away. So just said, come in. He obviously made sure I was all right, but we got training straight away. And throughout my career, if you look at Ipswich, how I felt, you spoke about it with Shrewsbury going boom, boom, boom. Yeah. I felt that at Ipswich. I was going. We then got to the playoffs. We then got to the next bit, and I felt my level was getting better and better and better. And it's like anything, when you're playing regular and playing, you don't necessarily have the same thought processes, do you? You don't think so much. You don't worry so much. And that's how I felt. And some ways, like, this guy is a great coach, and he's a great friend of mine now, and someone that I always speak to about advice about everything. He was someone who gave me them tools, who helped me through these times, and was brilliant with me. But what I feel that I've learned, and I could never say anything bad against the guy, is that I didn't necessarily have the tools to take it on away from him. He was giving me the tools to use with him, and we worked together brilliant together. And when I left him, I needed him, if you know what I mean, rather than having the tools myself to be able to deal with things. And I think sometimes as well, what I had with this guy and how he worked with me was brilliant, because if I made a mistake on a Saturday, he wouldn't necessarily come in and go, you made a mistake, let's go and work on the training pitch on Monday, we're going to do this because you did that there. Yeah. He was very clever in how we'd train on the Monday, we'd work hard, and then maybe we'd have a little conversation about just talking about how I felt about the scenario, or how it felt. What did you see? What did you think? And then we wouldn't do it. And then maybe on the Friday or the Thursday, we might pick it up or something and look at it a little bit in training, but don't just have a look at it. We would never leave it, but it was how he managed and got it across to me, you know, which I thought which helped me massively, I think.
Yeah.
Because it is, you've been there yourself. No one needs to tell you when you made a mistake.
No,
you come off the pitch and.
Yeah, you need support, but there's nothing better than having someone you trust. Like I used you a lot when you came. You know, I could handle the fact that if I'd done something wrong, but it took me a little bit of time. But I trusted in what you thought and what you had to say, and obviously I can tell now from working with the guy that you work with that your way of telling me you think I did something wrong was clever, and I knew you were telling me I did something wrong, but I was interested to know why, and I knew you had a reason for why I did it. A young lad playing for Year 9 football team, having to get on the bus the next day when people had filmed him letting one through his legs, or someone tackling him and letting a goal in. We want to try and give these guys as much help as they can, because not everyone's going to have a close relationship like you had. Not everyone's going to be able to be like me and have you there for me fighting in my corner. So trying to give people the best ways of dealing things, and I think it leads nicely into you doing so well for Ipswich, being talked about as the future of English goalkeeping football, and then getting a move to Arsenal to take over from David Seaman, who was one of my all-time heroes as a goalkeeper, and I'd imagine you probably looked up to him before you knew you were going to Arsenal. He was someone at the time. He was at the top of his, a few years before, he was at the top of his game during Euro '96, and someone who I really admired. And the opportunity to go to Arsenal came about. I'd signed a new contract at Ipswich, so was in the mindset that I was going to be there. That's what I wanted to be. And then all of a sudden, Arsenal came in, and I couldn't say no. Yeah. And people say, well, but David Seaman, was he at the end? I said I was going to go and challenge him. Was he at the end? And I thought really thought about it, and I felt that if I don't go now, that opportunity might not come. Yeah. And you do see goalies that might move, or you see young players that might move, and everyone will go, well, why is he doing that? Sometimes you have to take it, and you have to try, and you have to back yourself. Yeah. You've done it, you've backed yourself, and it doesn't always work out how you exactly want. Unfortunately, that's the game we're in and everything, but you've got to go for it. I went for it, and I didn't start the season. I assumed I would, or I assumed I'd have more of a chance to start, but I didn't. I didn't have the best of form. When I was there, I felt like I was playing okay in the pre-season games, but not the greatest. And bearing in mind, I'd gone from a small town club as where you reported in the 3 pages of the local paper to then being reported in 3 pages of the national newspapers. Yeah. And I got into the team. I did okay, did all right. And then my form dipped. I made a couple of big mistakes in games, and like I said then, instead of reading it on the back of a local paper, it was on the big national papers. Now, if you compare that to how it is nowadays, it'd be like you said, the videos all over social media, the videos all over the internet and stuff like that, where people look, and I found that really tough. I did find it tough, and I didn't have the people around me like I did before. I had to deal with myself. There was a few phone calls to the guy I worked with, but I felt it was strange that he was working for Ipswich, doing well there, and still working with them. So I didn't necessarily have the sit-down one-on-one situations where I could talk to him and tell him how I felt. I'd moved away for the first time, so I found that so hard. I bet. Yeah.
I had a young family, and we were trying to get settled and everything. Schools with Harry at the moment, who's now playing himself. So it was tough, really tough, and I did find it hard, and I didn't have the tools. And that's the first time. Well, I didn't really realise, but I didn't have the tools then, and I know that now. Yeah. That I didn't have the tools to deal with it, and I felt that I was making mistakes on the pitch, and trying to rectify them myself. I worked with a goalie coach who was great. Don't get me wrong, he was good. But I didn't have the same relationship that I had before, where I had someone who would analyse it a little bit, think about it, and like you said, how I spoke with you, he knew how to speak to me, he knew how to help me, if you like. So I really struggled. I found that, I'd say that was one of the toughest times. And then sort of got myself going again, and was trying to play, was playing in games, was finding it. When I said to you before about prior to a game, I remember I didn't like to know if I was playing again. I didn't want to know. I didn't like that. Really? I just wanted to get there half one, find out I'm playing, then I'd play. Because sometimes when I thought about it too much, I would think what might happen, rather than just dealing with what I can deal with. So I found that tough, really tough, and then played in games, and then played in the cup games, played in the cup semi-final against Middlesbrough United, Old Trafford, and done really well, and I was expected then to play in the cup final against Chelsea at Wembley. And I remember it now vividly of the manager named the team, and whoever was at one end of the pitch, you knew they were playing. And as we were running across, David Team was playing the game, was in the team that was starting, and I just knew then. I just had a feeling then that this wasn't maybe right for me. I was gutted, absolutely gutted. I've never. That's the only time you've had emotions. I think we all have emotions after games, and sometimes it is tough when there's emotion in the game. But that was a time I thought I'd gone, and then we obviously went on and won the FA Cup. So it was, if you could say, the manager made the right decision, but that didn't help me.
Yeah,
I was gutted. And you're on the bus doing all the parades. We won the league that year as well. So if I'm going to take, and I think you have to look back. Sometimes you have to take what you can out of scenarios, and no one can take the fact that I won an FA Cup and I won a Premier League medal as well. And being part of that team, I think I played 13, 14 games that season. So within the league,
that's a huge part.
So that hopefully that's enough to say you've achieved something. But I would say that was the first time that I doubted myself and doubted my own ability, and I didn't have the tools to deal with it.
So for you, it was over at Arsenal in your head. What was next for you?
It's just out of the blue. So I started back pre-season at Arsenal, and then Everton came in, and David Moyes was really, really positive and wanted to take me up there. He'd made a massive effort to come and meet me. It was like a Saturday I found out, the Sunday he was with me, made a massive effort, made me feel really, really wanted. And I went, right, that's it. We went up with the family and had a look around, and was just like, let's go for it. I really felt that maybe if I did stay at Arsenal, it might have changed round and things might have worked. But the fact that I knew that they got offered a bid on the Friday, and by the Saturday that it was accepted, I understood that I wasn't part of it, and I was happy with that, because I think you're the same. I think if there's something not quite right, you'd rather be told and be honest, because I think and give reasons why. I maybe didn't get the reasons why, but you just be honest. Yeah. But I went to Everton, and it was a fresh opportunity. They were. I think you've played there, you've been around it, and you speak to many people about Everton. It's a fantastic club, and I went there my first season, and I started off really shaky, because I think I carried on from what I was. The pre-season game, I think I made a mistake in pretty much every pre-season game, and I had this sort of thought process in my mind where, prior to a game, I was thinking, I can't make a mistake today. Don't make a mistake. Don't make a mistake. And I'd make a mistake. Yeah. And it was, and as stupid as it sounds, once I made the mistake, it was as if I went and played. Yeah. As if the ball went in, and I went, well, it's gone in now. I can carry on, get on with it. And I hated it. I couldn't change, and I had a fear. I sort of had a fear of playing, I think. And so the first year, we ended up finishing 7th. So I sort of found my feet just by playing that regular football and knew I was playing week in, week out.
And the manager obviously backed you.
He backed me, yeah. There was a couple of times where I thought, he could drop me. Yeah. But he did, because he'd signed me, he backed me and brought me through. So that was a real. I was up and down, and I felt during them times, there was times when I had bad games and up and down. And I think the way that my thought process then was that I believed, I was living in Manchester area and I was playing Liverpool, but I believed when I was making a mistake, everybody knew about my mistake. Yeah. And I'd walk down the street, and I think I was walking in the middle of nowhere, there might be an old lady or some kids, and in my head, I thought that they knew I made a mistake on a Saturday, yet they weren't bothered. They were just getting their milk and everything.
I know that feeling.
It's such a horrible feeling, and I honestly got to a stage where I thought to myself, do I really want to do this? Because it's not nice. I love playing football, and I think you've always been the same. Yeah. But in my head, I was thinking, like prior to a game, when I said about this 1:30 thing, I felt like a pressure. If I knew I was playing, I felt like, and I'd worry about the game.
So what did you feel at 1:30 when you were getting thrown in to play for your local team? Ipswich in the Premier League when you're 17 years old. You've done absolutely nothing in football. What did you feel?
Didn't care.
Yeah.
Didn't care. Yes, don't get me wrong. I was nervous.
Yeah. No, there's a different nervous.
Yeah.
There's a difference between nervous and thinking, oh man, wait, if 95 minutes is up and I'm not done anything wrong, I've won.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. It's like you want to. When you're younger, you just go out and play and you play. When you think about it and you're expected things of you to do this, to achieve this, to perform like this, it becomes harder. And I was thinking about it, and I found it really tough. And and there's things that I worked with and things that I did in the end that made me change certain things. So at this stage, you asked me before, I think I was 25, was I 26, something like that.
Which is young.
Yeah. And so that season finished, and I got injury. I had a knee surgery, didn't stop the injury, and they brought Nigel Martin. Nigel Martin was playing.
Yep.
I then went in the team for a cup game, or Nigel was out for 10 games. I'd go in and play, and I didn't play very well. And I was the same. The thought process wasn't right.
You really rated Nigel Martin, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought he was a fantastic.
You always said to me that he's
one
of the best you've worked with.
I think if I look around the England goalies, I'd put you in the same category of the top England goalies. David Seaman was top, but I thought Nigel Martin had something else. I put you with him. He didn't look the prettiest guy on the pitch, but he was one of the best I've seen in training and keeping the ball out of the net. So effective.
And what could you take from him?
He had an attitude of, and if I look at the top players, and I don't know how their thought process might be different, but for me it looks like the top players don't have that fear. They go out because they know their ability's top, and they just go out and play. Now, when you're a defender or you're like the back line of defence, it's a little bit different because scenarios are thrown at you. You can give the ball. I know everyone will say, they can give the ball away, and that. Yes, they have pressures. They have to put the ball in the back of the net, and that is the hardest thing. But sometimes at the back, it is difficult, and you think. But I thought he was like that. For me, like he'd turn up with muddy gloves for the game, and they'd be the worst gloves you've ever seen.
Really?
But he'd just play. It wasn't about. He didn't let the surroundings or anything about it affect him.
No, that's one thing that I noticed with David De Gea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of him. I watch him, and we all know what was perceived as a roller coaster start, but how strong and how unfazed he is. That small thing about the muddy glove, like I'm quite like you.
I was saying,
gloves are a big thing. They need to be clean. They need to be prepared right. I've took his gloves off him before, and I thought I wouldn't even wash the car in them.
Yeah, he's catching everything.
Yeah, he catches everything. He saves everything.
Yeah,
and like you said about Nigel Martin, I think we can reference Edison. We've just been talking about him. The guy plays some would call risky football. He makes big decisions, but it looks like whether they come off or whether they don't come off, he's the same guy, and I think that's why he's really going to be a top goalkeeper. You work with him daily. I've worked with him a few times, and that's what I really, really like about him. I
think when he first came in, I think it was a pre-season game. I wasn't part of that then, and he came for a ball over the top. It wasn't necessarily a mistake because it's all time and pre-season. We understand that. But the next thing, I think that from the conversation we had, the next time the ball came over, he did exactly the same thing, but this time got it.
Yeah.
And I think, and that is a fantastic skill to have, that if something doesn't go right, to be able to try and do the same thing again and not be scared to make that mistake. That is a phenomenal thing to be able to have.
I think you need to put things in the grand scheme of things. Ultimately, what does a mistake actually do to you? Nothing.
No.
It could cost your team the game, but if you're the kind of professional I know you are, I know I am, I know my teammates, although they might get frustrated, no one's ever going to question anyone who makes a mistake.
Yeah.
And there's no real absolute downfall to it. So as long as you believe in what you do and back it, then you've got a good chance.
I think within most dressing rooms, when someone makes a mistake, everyone knows, because everyone more or less knows the character. So say for example, you made a mistake in game, everyone knew Joe was trying to didn't make that mistake because you didn't make that mistake because of your ability or anything. You'd made that mistake because you were trying to do the right thing. Yeah. And everybody knew what you were about, knew everything. And I don't think I've never been in the dressing room and anyone's really questioned a goalkeeper for the mistake. They might say this is that, but when you're in the shoes and you feel sometimes, I've made a mistake, I've let you down, I've let this down. But ultimately, again, when we said about the paranoia thing of them thinking that they know I made a mistake, the lads are always back here, and I feel that I didn't have them tools, and I know you knew that we all backed you and stuff.
Yeah.
But it is tough, isn't it, in them scenarios?
It's an important feeling.
Yeah.
So Everton, and then where was it? What went on from obviously Nigel coming in, and you obviously rating him so much as a keeper, maybe feeling like you were going to be number 2 to Nigel, or maybe you need to do something else, or
so that was the time when I really thought about if I wanted to play football. I was like, I love football, I want to play, I want to train, I want to play, but the feelings I was getting prior to a game, the feelings when I was on the pitch, I felt I was all right. It was just the feelings before and dealing with that. So I spoke to a friend and said, I'm not enjoying this, I'm not enjoying my football as much as I know I can, I need help, I need some help. So the person said to me, right, we'll get you some help, and then I started working with a sports psychologist, a guy called Michael Caulfield, and we just simplified everything. That was all we did. I had a good relationship with the goalkeeping coach at the time, who was Chris Woods, a good guy and everything, but I just didn't feel that the relationship we had is like somewhere where you can speak, and I felt that at that stage in my career, that if I told anyone that I felt like this, and I felt this way, that I was weak. My big thing that worried me, and that, you know, if you look out the window and you stand in a hotel and you're playing somewhere and it's chucking down with rain, the wind's sideways, I'd be thinking, oh no, the ball's going to slip through my hands today. It's definitely going through my hands. But then we turned it around, thinking about, you talk about the kids earlier, about my thought process then, we spoke about it, and how do I do it, and what did I love most when I played football. And when I was a kid, I used to get muddy, and my mum used to go mad at me. I used to ruin washing machines and everything.
That was the only reason I went in goal.
Yeah.
That's what I enjoyed doing.
So we changed it around, and my whole thought process is, let's go get muddy, let's do this, it doesn't matter, let's go and play. It does, and I keep saying this doesn't matter, and we spoke about mistakes don't matter. On the grand scheme of things, for a football team and everything, they do, because everyone wants the best. But in the way you think, sometimes, you know, it's it doesn't matter, because we care, that's the thing, isn't it? But you just have to be able to get on with it. And I just changed the way I thought and got on with it. And I found that getting that right on the pitch and the way I thought about things, and setting myself little targets of games, of first thing I do on the pitch, make sure I do it properly, little things, and then I'd write down after a game. I'd send it we did it as like a text message thing. So I'd send them three things I want to do, and then afterwards I'd bang list off the good things I did. And I speak about my son, exactly what I do with Harry now. Little things, punch, text. He tells me what it is. Because if you ring Harry and you ring kids nowadays, they don't answer them. No. So that was, So just now giving myself these tools, and it just helped me everything at home with everyone.
That's the big thing.
Of understanding everything and not worrying about, and it helped me in life, that I would worry about the littlest, finest detail, that's not quite right, or that's not quite right, and I'd worry about it, where now I think, oh, I can deal with that, we can easily manage that, we can do that. And I go back to talking about the kids. I've got a son, and I always say to him, you'll make mistakes, don't worry about that. And if you make a mistake and you think you can't, and all I want you to do is you have to tell me. It doesn't matter. If you make a mistake, what's the worst going to happen? That we deal with someone to help you out. And Harry has made mistakes, and we dealt with them. And the way we dealt with them was just speak about it and talk about it. And sometimes I think that was my thing, that I tried to deal with it myself, and didn't have the people around me that I felt that I could talk about it.
I think that'll be a lot of people's thing. I don't think there's many people who will just comfortably, especially, like I keep referencing, the shoot up, especially when you shoot up, because you get in your head that everyone thinks you're Superman, and you have to stay as Superman otherwise. And if you don't, if you're not Superman, then they're just going to leave you, or they're not going to respect you anymore. When that's not, it's not the case. Like you learn with age, and you're lucky you learned it at 26, you're saying 26, 27, 28 when you learnt it. I needed it badly at the same time, similar sort of time to when I was starting to work that out. But I've only really kind of come to terms with those sort of things now. Because kind of scrapping and knowing what you're capable of and not reaching those heights is a hard thing to do. But when you finally do just kind of calm and put things in context, I think it makes it everything a lot easier. It doesn't mean that you can do everything. You know, we talked about in my first episode how I've been helped doesn't mean that everything's going to go well. Like I went to West Ham last year, and it really didn't go well for me. I don't feel I was particularly, you know, awful, but the whole way it panned out. But I felt in control. I felt calm in it. Yeah. Which was the biggest thing I could have got out of it. Which
do you feel like you maybe could control everything around it, and especially the home life? It wasn't affecting everything.
I could control.
Yeah, control the controllable.
Yeah, and everything else was like, you know, new manager coming in, not necessarily wanting me to play, thinking that the other goalkeeper was better for the team. Obviously, it was annoying, but it was like, okay, I'm going to do my best to work for the team, or, you know, if worst case, I'll move on next season and do something else. And I think that's just a nice feeling that allows you to get the best out of yourself. So when you started working this out, how did you feel as a goalkeeper again?
So I was still dripping in and out of the team, but I felt I still had this feeling a little bit before I played. But what I did is, and we worked out this thing, is that just make sure I'm around people, because I felt if I was around people and talking and prior to a game and thinking about it, rather than putting yourself away from everyone, just be around people and talking and chatting, and that time would go, and I had never had a problem once I got to the ground, or the thought that it was just the thought of getting there. And then once I got there, fine, warm up, routines. I had a routine that I felt good with, and it got me ready to play, and then I played and I felt great. Yeah. And you went on again. So when I left Everton, I wanted to go and play. I had it in my mind I was going to play, and there was a scenario that didn't quite work out. I wanted to go back to Ipswich and play, and Ipswich at the time couldn't quite sort the contracts as what it is. Yeah. So I ended up going to West Ham as a number 2 keeper again. Okay. Played the cup games. But again, I was around another goalie, Rob Green, who's a fantastic goalkeeper, who had again been on a roller coaster of emotions. And at that stage, I got to work with him as number 2, and I think at that stage he got to the part of the World Cup at the end of that season.
He started 2010, started the World Cup.
Yeah, was it then? Maybe the year before I was there, but he'd
played into it. Yeah. You know, he played into the World Cup, if you know what I mean, as one.
And he did really well, so I was part of being that. And then the following season, I left West Ham, and Ipswich came in and got me. And again, start of that season, I started off a bit shaky, wasn't the greatest, but I had the tools. I knew that because I cared, I wanted to do well, and I really cared and be in my hometown team and wanted to do well. But I had the tools that I didn't. It worried me a bit. I would lie if I said it didn't worry me, but it worried me a bit. But I knew that I had the tools, and I believed in myself. I knew I was doing all right. I'd been on loan the previous year when I was at West Ham. Went to Southampton for 6 weeks, and flew. But the hardest thing at that time with the goalkeeping coach who was at Southampton was my goalkeeping coach from Ipswich prior, and I flew. He was the guy who helped me. So I ended up going to Ipswich, and started off a bit shaky, and then all of a sudden I kept going, kept plugging away, and then I just went again. Good. So you know, it sometimes takes that little bit of time to get yourself your momentum. You get going, couple of good games, and I just flew. I think we finished just outside the playoffs, and I'd say it was one of my best seasons I'd had for many years. Yeah. So
consistency, everything. Yeah. Off the field as well.
Off the field was happy. Everything was good. I was back at home. You know, I had people around me, family around me. It was great. And then we had a new manager came in, and again, didn't want me. Wasn't part of his plans. Yeah. Didn't matter what I did. I just felt that it wasn't part. But I didn't worry too much. I got on with it. I worked really, really hard, and all I did is supported the people around it. Yeah. And started my education in goalkeeping as far as qualifications. Then I thought that this is me. I think I'm 32, 33. Mm-hmm. This is where I want to start to develop, and I'm learning these. I had the love of the game was back. I had some tools that I felt I could use as well. So I thought I'm going to keep learning, keep going, and try and help others if I can.
Yeah. And then that took you, obviously briefly, it was Preston, was it?
Sheffield United.
You had Sheffield United.
Yeah, Sheffield United of a year. So I've had a bit of a roller coaster when you think about it. So I went there, I played twice in that year. My family lived down south.
Yeah, I remember you saying.
Yeah, and I was travelling backwards and forwards, and it didn't help my body. So a mistake I made. And then the scenario of when the Preston move came about, again, I went there because it was the best option that I had. That was my plan, to go and play.
Yeah.
I did three days prior to the contract started on the 1st of July or something. I did 3 days prior to that as pre-season went in, and I just felt that the manager wasn't right for me, and I could feel that I was going to live away from home, and I didn't think it worked. My family wasn't coming with me. If you like, the whole thing around the package, if you like, that for my family to move up, it wasn't quite right. So that was me. I went, that's me, I'm done. And my thought process then was to go and work with the goalkeepers at Ipswich. That was what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was working with the young academy goalies, and then I got a phone call from Man City.
Standard move, isn't it?
Yeah. So I was it, and I got a phone call from Man City. Would you be interested in coming and working? We know all about you. We know what you can do, everything. Would you like to come? So I ended up, I think it was about a month later, I ended up coming 3 days when we first met.
Yeah, I remember it.
I remember training with you. First 3 days, and then played a practice match. I played the practice match and signed in the afternoon. I think it was another roller coaster, and then so when I think about it now, what my thought process is there. Yes, I believed in myself. I knew I could play, and I think and everything. But my thought process, I'm going to take every single bit I can out of this. So I can sap from you. We had Costel Pantilimon, Massimo was the goalie coach, Mancini was the manager. It was like, I'm going to take everything I can. I'm going to train and play with the best of the best.
Aguero, Torre, Silva, Dion, everyone. It was.
How can you not improve or be around the best players? So that's my thought process. And everything was okay for me now to bring my family and the opportunities that I can give for my family, which was important. And it was great. I loved it.
So you're looking forward to the coaching side of the game now? Yeah,
I really look forward to it. And just again, I'm in the best learning environment of where we are. You've spoke about Xavi before.
Yeah.
He's someone that I think what we both, like we said before again, that we both thought when he first came in, wow, we're going to struggle with this guy here. But I think he changed the way that we thought about certain things and how things can be done to affect. And I think during that period of being with you and working with you, I was able to, because I wasn't playing on a regular basis, I could really suck into it and tap into it and try and learn about everything. So that's what I did. I thought I'm gonna be really open-minded and not be a closed book and saying we do it this way here, we do it that way, and opened up. I really enjoy it, the opportunity to work with the first team goalkeepers, but also the opportunity to work with the young goalies. I work with the under 9s, 10s, 11s, all the way up, because we want everyone to be doing the same, and I think you learn so much about everybody.
Well, that's what I think. You know, people that ask me, I've always thought about goalkeeper coaching. I've always just kind of thought of a goalkeeper coach as a ball server, as someone who just kicks the ball. But now, you know, I can tell I know why you're excited about being a goalkeeper coach, because being with someone like Jared, it's a different way of looking at football. It's a different way of being a goalkeeper, and we're lucky because I think working with people from all over the world, you know, as an English goalkeeper, it must have been really interesting for you when you had your first foreign goalkeeper coach. It was really interesting for me. And then obviously going and playing in Italy and realising, you know, we do nothing the same as anyone. It's a big world out there. And you've got a huge opportunity now to shape young goalkeepers. You know, even if you're working with an under 9, you can almost give them the idea of learning and what football's about on a grander scheme of things, not just being able to keep the ball out of the net. Yeah,
it's just learning from them, because the thing that I've learned, as well as being with the youngsters, is this thing is that everything's changing, it's always evolving, and as much as we will work on technical things and get everything on what we believe in is right, but life changes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I tipped on it before about how you communicate with people. It's a bit different. So dealing with my son, it's text or anything like that. Or yes, he does call me, but don't get me wrong. If we need little bits of text, and learning about them and the teenagers, and it's
the outside noises that are going to come into their lives, how they're going to handle that. So that's why I think, you know, it's going to be really interesting what you're going to do in the game. And it's exciting for Harry. It's probably going to be more difficult for Harry because we all know what it's like. We love our family, but at the same time, they're the easiest people to fob off.
Yeah.
So I don't envy you with that, but he's a good kid, and I think he's going to listen to the right things, and we'll all try and help him. And very interesting story. And and it's not even halfway through. I really feel like you've got a great opportunity to go again, and you're full of life, full of excitement for what you can bring, and I think you're going to bring loads to the game.
Hopefully, that's the plan.
Yeah. I personally want to thank you for coming and being involved with what we're doing, and in the future we'll give you the feedback of how you've helped, and anyone who's listened to what we've had to say and it's touched or it's interested you, or you've got more questions, like we said in the first episode, speak to us, let us know how you're feeling, let us know how it's helped you, let us know what you think could help. We're really interested, and we want to help, so thank you.
Cool, no problem.
So I'm joining the conversation, and Richard, fantastic. And I remember a few months ago that you didn't even want to have this conversation. Yeah? And so, what was it about that you thought in your career that you didn't feel that you were comfortable to talk about the things that you've talked about today?
I think that I would have spoke about the things that we spoke about today within the company and stuff. But for me, I'm not interested in being on the camera and stuff no more. I want to be behind the scenes working with goalkeepers and stuff like that, using the tools that I have to help them. But when I spoke with Joe and we spoke about it, and then I saw what Joe was looking to do and showed me some bits and pieces, I thought, yeah, if I can get involved and my experiences can help someone a little bit, or one person a little bit, then I'm more than happy to help.
Yeah, because I think it's a great legacy that, it's almost like passing down that Joe's learned so much from you and you've learned so much from others. Mm-hmm. Which brings me to the point, what I've heard you talk about is on your journey being a number 2. Yeah. How important is it for a young player, or even any player, somebody who's been on that same journey, that they adjust their mindset? What was it about you as a number 2 going into somewhere that you could help with somebody else?
Yeah, I think that first of all, there wasn't a number 2 for me. I wasn't thinking I'm going in as a number 2, and I think that any player going anywhere, you can't have that in your mindset of this is what I'm going. When I had the conversations, I always asked, when I was going to a club, I went to West Ham as a brief spot, that was that you're challenging and you're fighting for the number 1, and that was, I think if it said you're coming in as a number 2, then I don't think I would have done. When I came to Man City, I understood the scenario. It was a totally different scenario. That would be number 3. But I didn't change the way that I was in my role that was. I was always brought up and to work as hard as you possibly can. And when I was at Man City, I was open-minded to learning everything. And when I was at the other clubs and in the number 2's position, if you like, but I wanted to be number 1. And I worked and supported and did everything that I possibly could.
And I think that's a great example of using the word competition, because sometimes people can look at competition as me against you, and you're not playing, so it means you feel anxious that, I'm not playing again, when will I get my opportunity? Yeah. And then you can be that player that also says, this situation is going to bring out the very best in me. And something we talked about a lot was, it's not about you looking at the other guy as he's got your jersey. It's looking at him and saying he's going to bring out the very best in me. Mm-hmm. And I believe that one of the reasons why he's had the career that he's had is because, as he said, he had you around, but your attitude also rubbed off on him in many ways. Yeah. So something for other players to actually really focus on.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, just to it's like a support thing, if you like, as well. But you like you said, you're both trying to do the best you possibly can, and it's not a horrible rivalry you've been in it and stuff like that. And I think that you can always get better. You can always improve whatever your scenario is, whether it's on the training pitch or playing on a Saturday. So that's your attitude: is how do I get better?
So what happens if not everybody gets a run of games? Yeah. And you've talked about in your career having that run of games. Yeah. What today is, a goalkeeping coach at the very highest level, but this message is for any goalkeeper. You've not got a run of games. Yeah. What do you say to them?
Well, it's tough, and we know that sometimes you do need a run of games, but it's about going out there and preparing right. And I think that what I would do and what I look at is that you do everything on a daily basis that you're going to play and prepare to play. And then if you do your routines and you do everything that you believe is right, then you should get that. You should be able to hit a form, if you like, in them games. We understand that it's not always easy. You do understand that, we've experienced it. But do the right things all the time. And when we spoke about I'm just talking about personally how I felt, is that I always prepared. Right, I was number 3 with Joe, and we travelled all over the world. I prepared the same as Joe, even though Joe played, and I more or less know I wasn't playing. I was number 3, but I prepared as if I was going to play. I'd eat the right foods. I'd make sure I was doing the right things. So that was what I did. That was how I did it, and I think that's what you got to do. You got to keep your routines and keep doing what you believe in, and hopefully you got a coach that can help and guide you and help you. So when you do cross that right line, you're ready to hit the ground running. But you do understand that it is sometimes hard to turn it on like a tap, but ultimately you have to be able to do that, and that's unfortunately how the game is. But if you can be ready, mentally prepared, and if it was me, and we spoke about it before, if I was in a calm state of mind, I would have been fine just to tip over, and sometimes it did fly. So no, but it is a difficult scenario.
So what does Richard Wright, the coach, say to Richard Wright, the 17-year-old?
On as far as I've changed so much technically, I think.
I'm
only joking. No, I just felt. So that guy, the guy at Ipswich, was a guy who had no fear, and it was me at Ipswich, had no fear. Just played week in, week out. I didn't think about anything. I just went out and played. And maybe that the way that football was then a bit, wasn't as high profile as far as social media and everything like that. So it was just about getting out there and playing week in, week out. I prepared right, did everything right, and just played. And
but there is a Richard Wright somewhere who is today playing. So what do you say to him?
As far as I would say to play, to enjoy it, to have no fear, go and play. If I'm the coach, I will help you technically and help you support you, and I'll be around you, and we will talk about everything. I can help him on so many fronts, and not to worry. But I will challenge him. I won't make it easy as if it's as easy. Don't worry. You have to be challenged. You have to be pushed. You have to be pushed out of your comfort zone a little bit to give you the tools to make sure you understand it. But be supportive. That's one thing that will always be.
Do you find that the younger players today don't deal with that criticism or support, that pushback, as much? Is it more difficult today than it would have been for you or Joe when you were younger? What are they concerned about that you weren't concerned about?
I think that the things that they'll be concerned about is, like I spoke, is everyday life now. It's social media. It's all the things that go on around the things, and we spoke about before, and things that you not necessarily can control, or you can deal with, is what you're doing with on the pitch, or you're doing with in training. I do feel that everyone wants to get better. You see different characters. Some are desperate for the information, desperate to get better. You see some that are very talented and just go along with it, and yes, they're going to get better, and this guy will get better as well. And it's how they deal with everything around them again, I think is hard. And you sit in. We were in a world where, and you'd have seen it, Joe, that everyone go. You're in a changing room after training, or you're in a changing room after a game. What's the first thing players do?
Just see this
on their phones. That is the scenario now, and it's how did I do? What did I do? This. So it is the world we live in, and we have to accept that. It's no good me saying, "Oh, you can't be in the dressing room. Don't look at your phones. Why are you doing this?" That's not the way the world is. We have to give them the tools to be able to deal with that, and I think have no fear about talking about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
That's a skill in itself, and one of the things that you've both talked about is that fear of talking. Yeah. And do you believe that that player, whether he's 17, 23, 25, whatever age, how do they get over that? Because you've said you need to just talk, but that's just words.
It is hard. It is hard, and
sometimes they have to take ownership themselves, if you like, and it's not hard. But what I would say around it is the thing that I felt was it was a fear, and the reason I had the fear is I felt it was a weakness. Now, I think now it's not a weakness. I think that in the way that the world is now, and the way that us guys understand and players understand, is that it's a sign of positivity. It's a sign of that I'm going to be better.
Sign of
Strength.
I see it as a sign of strength.
Yeah. And I think if we're talking about, you know, we're going to talk about the guys playing Joe when year 9. We talk about them, and if he can be a year 9 player within the school, and talking about it and having that little edge, maybe becomes a county player or something like that. We can talk about the elite Premier League players. If they've got that guy and they can be that, they're going to be better. They're going to be better, and it's not a sign of weakness. It's how can I improve? And that's for me. Whether it's in the gym with your muscles, whether it's with I don't know, smashing balls or whatever you do, with the mind as well, it's something we can improve.
Yeah. Well, you train your body every day, don't you? And you train your technique, so it's training your mind. And you said at the back end of your career, you know, you had a different understanding of Richard Wright.
Yeah.
What would your career have been like had you have had those tools earlier?
Yeah, I think it would have been better, and I'd have been not better. It would
What's
have been
better?
No, because I can't. I don't like to look back and go, I should have been this. I should have done that.
Yeah.
But the way that my thought process is now and how I deal with things would have been in a more positive state of mind in some scenarios. We spoke about with Joe that even though you have these tools and you know how to deal with things, it doesn't mean that you're going to be the top person.
Absolutely.
But it allows you to deal with things, and it allows you to accept things in that way. But Richard Wright, I don't know, maybe it'd have been a Champions League winner. Ballon d'Or player of the year. I don't know. No, I don't know. I just think that it would have been dealing with situations and dealing with everything would have been a lot easier.
A lot easier. Yeah. You would have approached them differently. Yeah. And I think, if anything, those tools, that period have what I'm listening to and through your interview is that it's also going to add to your legacy, because you've become a better parent for that as well. Because Harry plays, doesn't he?
Yeah, so Harry plays, and it's just really because of the scenario as well, and he's got a coach and I'm a coach. I don't get involved with the coaching side. I'll give him little things, but not much, just a little snippets of what I see. But I'm just the support network. I'm his dad, simple as that. Yeah. And I don't try, and yes, I can help him with the psychological things, but I put into place some of the things I learned, and the text, the message before a game, just to communicate with him as far as knowing that I'm there, and knowing that it does matter because everyone cares, and it's hard, but knowing that if he does make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. Yeah. We can deal with it, we can help him, we can do anything we can now. So it did help me, it helps me. It's made me maybe more relaxed with scenarios. You know, things don't...
Which is a nice feeling.
Yeah, rather than thinking,
uptight.
God. Now it's like, all right, let's deal with it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it, let's get it sorted.
And it's interesting you said early on about you felt that you could do it on your own. And I think, you know, not just for football, but there's lots of people who have that context. You know, I've just recently sat down with somebody who said the same thing, a talented guy, and said, you know, I just felt like I could do it on my own. And it's kind of funny because you have a goalkeeping coach and you have, you know, an S&C coach. So why do you feel like you can do that bit on your own?
Yeah, I think you know, sometimes you always need that little bit. I put it down sometimes as, you know, the fear and being able to speak to someone as well and sharing the information is the fact of, say for example, just an analogy for you, if you've not done your maths homework, you know some teachers are going to crucify you, but sometimes if you go and sit down with the teachers and haven't done maths homework, they're like, and before you go and see them you think, oh no, I'm going to get detention, she's going to hammer me, and then you go and see them, they sit there, all right, okay, why have you not done it? Okay, let's make sure we get it done, and that relief of being able to express, because you would have had a fear, and because everyone knows that they're going to get told off for not doing it. Yeah. So it helps. Like just the thing of talking.
Especially if you've got a good reason.
Yeah.
Like a genuine good reason. Yeah.
Your coaching career. Tell me about goalkeeping coaches, because there'll be a lot of aspiring goalkeeping coaches who, you know, have an ambition to coach at the top, and it doesn't get much higher than, you know, over at Manchester City right now. What was your thought process when you started looking at, you know, being a goalkeeping coach? You know, what's the ambition?
So my ambition, I have a passion for football, simple as that, and a passion for goalkeeping, whether it's goalkeeping gloves or anything. So that was really my passion behind it, and just really to help people and try and improve people and give. I know everyone said give something back, but it is you want to be able to pass something on, and I guess this is what we're doing now, isn't it? We're talking about how we can help others, and it's. And the way I feel about it is when I work with someone and you see someone doing something that you've worked on and you've explained to them, I feel this and we do this, this will help you this, and then they go into a game and they do it. It's not the buzz of playing, don't get me wrong, but it's a buzz that you get and you see them doing so well and things they achieved. It just gives you such a buzz, and that was really my mind behind it, that I want to improve, I want to get better. You say that I'm Man City, work with the top goalkeepers at Man City. Yes, I am, but I'm still learning. I'm still going to improve. I'm still going to get better, and that has to be my mindset. And I think that's the same with if you're a kid playing football, whatever it is, you want to keep improving. If you're a youngster working at your exams, whatever, you want to keep pushing and improving because you're always learning.
Did that opportunity come sooner than you thought it did? It would, or? Was it timing wise? What, you know, were you ready? That's the question. Did you?
I think I was ready because of the fact of that I'd gone to Man City as that number 3, and it was the progression, if you like. I knew it was coming someday.
Goalkeeping coach.
Goalkeeping coach. Yeah. So I knew it was because I'd come to Man City and I'd started doing the education. I'd started doing everything so I could be a goalkeeping coach, and I knew at one stage it would come. And it was just the fact that Man City, I'd say, for me, had been a phenomenal football club. I was there, I think, 4 years as a player, and as soon as I finished, I sat down with Xavi and he retired me off, so I wasn't happy with that, but I was alright. And just told me this is what we're going to do. We're now going to run the goalkeepers at Man City, and with other goalkeeping coaches we work with every day who are really good, and try and develop the goalkeepers for Man City and develop them from within and have local lads playing for Man City. That's the plan. It's not easy, don't get me wrong, but that's our plan, what we're going to try and do. So I felt that it was the right time. Did I find it easy when I retired? No, it's never. What
didn't you find easy?
I felt this a little bit is that I could sort of do what I want, if you like, and the discipline of every day being told, do this, do that, be here, be there, do this. Everything's done for you. Now I was half making decisions on my own, and maybe I weren't making right decisions sometimes or whatever, but. Working in the academy, but I love being on the pitch and being on the grass. So that side of it was good. It was just dealing with getting used to not being told what to do and having to make the decisions on your own. Yeah. Now it's alright. I can do it. Now it's gone back to that a little bit because I'm in the environment again in the first team where
you're being told.
Yeah. So it's great, but I just love it. I just want to do it all the time. And being out on the grass, I think. If you we sit and talk about how we grow and we've got to grow mentally and everything, but it's Joe, anyone, it's best being out on the grass and training's the best place.
But that's the thing, that's what we're saying. If you can have the tool side of it handled, then you can just go and be free and play football.
And ultimately that's what we want to do.
Yeah.